halfway down, thank you, Libby. If you scroll just about halfway down, then you're able to see add to calendar. And then you could add whichever way you'd like. And so that way it'll be on your calendar. So we are not sending direct calendar invitations out. And also, this goes for a lot of our engagement opportunities. Sorry. Sorry about that. This goes for a lot of our engagement opportunities as well. I know a lot of times you'll get an email and then you'll need to add it to your calendar. So we just like to drop these reminders of how to add things to your calendar when they're coming just from Zoom emails. Okay, and then our agreements, just a quick reminder here about our agreements. So we will hear again this coffee chat this month from Dorothy. And so I think today let's lift up be both teachers and learners. We're going to hear from Dorothy. Dorothy is going to share about some of her wonderful partnership experiences that she has going on. And I know you all have so many other wonderful experiences going on. So let's agree to be both teachers and learners during today's coffee chat. All right, so let's start with our introduction. So in the spirit of the Olympics starting up here, I think next week, Summer Olympics, what is your favorite Summer Olympic event? So we have a good number on today. So if you wouldn't mind chatting in, what is your favorite Summer Olympic event? And then we also have name and location. So if you don't mind chatting in so that we can all just have a quick moment here to get introduced and acquainted to each other. And I will say my favorite, I love the Olympics. It just reminds me of childhood, just nostalgia and just summertime. And so I love all things Olympics. But I would say probably diving. I love to watch diving, probably anything in the pool. I love swimming as well. But the diving is always super interesting to me during Summer Olympics. And let's see, I know we have a large number, so please keep them coming in the chat. But Dorothy, I'll also ask you, since you are our wonderful speaker today, what's your favorite Summer Olympic event?
I love the the distant running.
Mm.
And there's another one that I love, but for some reason I'm getting a blank where because I even tried to do it in high school. The bar. Oh my goodness. I'm just having a senior moment here.
No,
If I think of it, I'll put it in the chat.
yes, please do. Yes, it'll pop up right at a random moment. So drop it in whenever you think of it. All right, but I also love anything track and field, Dorothy. All right, everyone, keep those responses coming in chat. So excited about Summer Olympics. Hopefully, there's something there for everyone, I feel like. So, all right, so let's move forward. Okay, so we are going to hear from one of our wonderful PFA network members, Dorothy Winningham, about Dorothy's partnership and experience. So Dorothy, I know that you have recently gotten started with the Innovation and Value Initiative. And so we're very much looking forward to hearing more about that. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing the slides for a moment so that we can all see each other as Dorothy, there we go, as Dorothy is speaking. And then we will pick back up shortly. So Dorothy, I will turn it to you to get us started.
All right. Thank you. And welcome to you all. I see so many faces that I've seen before, and it's good to see you all. And I'm gonna do like the minister does. I will not start calling names. But I'm happy to have a voice on July's coffee chat to share with you one of the projects that I'm on. As Brittany said, it is called the Innovation and Value Initiative. However, they just recently changed their name to Center for Innovation and Value Research. Okay, what I'm going to share with you, what I've been doing, but I want us to be in at the same church in the same row. So you can tell with what I just said, my background, right? But anyway, I do have some notes because I wanted to stay focused on, what I shared with you all today. So if you see me look down, that's when I'm just looking at my notes, okay? This initiative, they have developed a steering and community advisory board, and it is comprised of patients, caregivers, researchers, payers, industry experts, and other stakeholders. And I am delighted to be on the community advisory board. Now, the project is called the Patient-Centered Economic Impact Project. And that is uncovering the true cost of healthcare. In other words, it is the burden that individuals, to include the patient, the caregiver, as well as the family members, incur because the healthcare does not pay for all of the needs that are required. And so this research is trying to come up with a map, a roadmap on how to go forth and discovering what some of the true costs are. And we had a meeting on Thursday, yesterday. And that meeting, they, of course, was sharing, had several patient members to share, their various health condition and what they have experienced. And so some of the things that came up in the general session, not necessarily with the sessions that we had that were smaller sessions, was that healthcare, the insurance pays a portion. Depending on the individual's medical condition, there are additional costs that are incurred. And we've started listening some of those concerns. And one was travel to and from appointments, as well as to the hospital. Perhaps the caregiver will have to go back and forth to the hospital to perhaps be there for their loved one, lost wages, unpaid sick leave. And then a lot of time individuals have to take vacation, but it's really not a vacation to be there with their loved one. Forced retirement, delayed education, forego job opportunities. There were so many things that individuals shared that just opened up a great avenue of the many things that are not covered by the insurance company. And one of them was that sometime you're on a job and perhaps there are promotion opportunities, but if it does not fit within what you're having to do with your loved one, as well as with you personally, then you can't take certain job opportunities because you will ask, previous health concerns or whatever. And so you lose out on those opportunities as well. But the main thing that they're trying to uncover is the out-of-pocket expenses, such as medication. Sometimes the medication that they prescribe is not covered by the insurance company. There's also other items, equipment, and there's also over-the-counter vitamins or whatever that they may suggest. These items are not covered. In addition to that, sometimes your diet has changed. And some of the things that I'm sharing with you is that I have experience with my loved ones. And so these are the items or the situations that this team is trying to capture, because as researchers, they do not consider these things. In addition to that, every individual situation is totally different. So they are challenged with trying to do a sample, and I'm gonna use that word sample, to get, the different medical conditions, and then of course speak with those individuals as to what their journey has been. And out of that, I'm sure now this is the next session that will come on in November. But Dorothy is making this assessment because I see that's where perhaps they're going. Out of this assessment, the researcher must come up with a defined map, because there's no way possible to cover every individual situation and put that into the overall can't find the word I would say, scenario. They can't put everything into the same scenario. So that will be a challenge for them as they listen to the various individual with their personal roadmap as to what occurred with their condition. They'll be talking to patient, family members, as well as caregivers. So again, one of the participants was sharing, and I had not even considered this, that even though they're trying to uncover the cost, is that they forget about the family members, how it impacts them as well. In other words, we were sharing that this individual had a daughter that was in school, in college, and they were discussing the situation with how it affected her mentally. So usually they do not put into health care that family members may need assistance, go see a therapist or whatever. So that's an additional cost. And I believe he was sharing that that was really a cost that they had to come up with out of their pocket for individual counseling, and then for family counseling for the condition that they were dealing with. In addition to that, they were also sharing that a lot of time individuals have to have additional information to their home. And as I said, that happened to me. I had to have a ramp for my mother and my brother because they were in a wheelchair. So it was amazing to learn, even though, as I said, I had experienced that, I never thought about it in that regard. So it makes us really put on our thinking cap and just recall some of the things that each one of us, whether you're a caregiver, whether you are patient, where you're, it doesn't make any difference what role you are playing. It's just that there are so many things that at the moment that we're doing that we don't consider and don't even think about. That's an additional cost, and it's out-of-pocket costs that have occurred that the insurance company will certainly not pay for. So again, I think what their attempt is great. It's awesome. The next meeting is in November, but the bottom line is that this is a 2-year project, and it is funded by Victoria. And as I said, Thursday meeting was, and I'm going to read exactly how they put it, was to explore practical approaches for mapping the journey as it relates to uncovering the true cost of economic health care for individuals. So again, it is amazing that the researchers, I guess for these many years, have not even considered it. So again, that's the reason for bringing those persons with lived experience onto this board. Now, I'm going to stop here because, and see if anyone has any questions that I may be able to answer. Because again, Brittany wanted me to respond to a couple of questions and I want to respond to them, but I'll wait before I go forward.
Thank you, Dorothy. I will open it first to those who have immediate questions. Emily, I see your hand raised.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, Dorothy. This is such wonderful work you're doing here. Thank you.
Thank
And what
you.
it brought to me, mind to me, is one potential component of such work would be an actual journey mapping exercise. I know we did them at Kaiser Permanente when I worked there sometimes. We're
Mhm.
just going through the patients each stage of the process, what happened, what worked, and what didn't, and like that. Is that something that they're thinking of?
I think that's part of the second. Thursday was the first session that we had. They did do that somewhat, but not in detail. Yesterday was more to just share some of the things that individual could just like throw at the whiteboard. But I think the next meeting will get into details. And in addition to that, and thanks for asking that question, because we'll also use each individual what their journey has been with the various medical conditions. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking that it will be in a set of a good example if you're diabetic, those persons that have had that, if it was cancer or something, the category for that. So I think that will be the next phase of it. So thanks for asking about that, Emily.
Well, I would love to hear, and of course, not anybody's detailed medical information, just
Oh
what's the
no, right.
experience with it, with the journey mapping? How helpful was it in this case? I would love to hear that. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Maybe I'll get an opportunity once we, to share more, because like I said, it is a 2-year program, and this is our second meeting.
Thank you. Great
Mhm.
question, Emily. Libby and Linda, I know both of you have questions. Um, yep,
Linda can
Libby, I
go
see.
first. Linda can go first.
Okay, perfect. Linda, turning it to you.
Well, and I was just getting ready to say, let Libby go first. She's got trouble raising her hand. I haven't done the new update, so on my Zoom, so I'll probably bump into that too. But anyway, so this is what I love PCORI studies and research, and so this is another rich one, and I'm glad to hear about it, and um, so appreciate you bringing the information forward early to us, and it makes me all the more excited to maybe hear again as you get closer to the close of the research that you all are working
Sure.
on. But
Mhm.
something that my organization has just started stepping into is the aspect of what's called care mapping, which is another very new tool. It's more so in the world of pediatrics, but it actually fits across the board. In my opinion, it's somewhat similar to journey mapping for patients, but Google it and look and see if it's a parallel piece that you can also bring into your discussions. Because when families do this care mapping to look at all the aspects and overlays of what's going on in their lives that are impacted by the care of their loved one, it's overwhelming for many families to see that. And it's a great communication tool to show to providers to say, I can't follow all of your care plan that you're putting forward because I've got all this stuff going on that you've got to take into consideration. And part of the costs that I often think of is the travel costs for all of that activity that I'm sure was probably brought up. I didn't hear that mentioned necessarily, but I'm sure that's another thing. When I think back about all of the appointments that I was taking to for both of my kids across the Washington, D.C. greater metro area and beyond, and then down in Florida when we moved. So that's just another thing that they don't think about is that expenditure of all of the travel costs that I've yet to have an insurance company offer to pay for.
But because that was the first thing that I mentioned, but maybe I that's all right, no problem. But yes, because one of the persons on the at the meeting was stating that he could get what like again, I don't want to give details, but he had to travel out of state to get what he needed. So that was a cost. That was a cost. You can't hear me?
I was saying, sorry, I missed that first comment.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, no, no,
I
no.
appreciate
I didn't
that.
give an example, but I did
Okay.
say the cost of travel. No,
Okay.
I did
Got
not
it.
give that example. So
Okay,
no
got it.
problem. Yes, had to travel out of state to get the treatment that he needed. So yeah, that is a great expense, and insurance companies do not pay for it. Yes. So thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for the question. And Libby, do you want to jump in? And then Marty and Beverly, I see hands raised. So
Yes,
wonderful.
yes. What a great conversation. And for those of you who have done the update, I finally found it. It's under React. I don't know why it's under React, but
Thank you.
anyway, raise hand under React. This is so important, such important work, and I'm so glad that you're a part of that project. And
Thank you.
And the care mapping is such a brilliant tool. It reminds me, a colleague years ago, Janice will probably remember, Kristen Lind did like this amazing map of all the different ways that education system intersected, and
Okay.
therapies, and oh, it was just a brilliant visual of the complexity. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that's why I'm tired, because, you know, I got 3 boys and we're doing all that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that. For me, it was like, oh my gosh. So the connection to that and all of that activity to the financial impact is so tight. It's so tight.
Yes.
So I love the way that this project's going. And the thing that I'm thinking about is, how can we help you? You know, can we brainstorm and give you more ideas? Can you represent the PFA network in that? I just know the financial impact is so understudied and such a tremendous impact to people, to our, you know, my lives, I'm sure all of you on the call. So how can we as a community support you in this project? You know, are they looking for people to interview? I'm sure we've got, you know, how many people do we have on today? Right?
16.
Yeah. So, you know, and by the way, I was counting, of our 16, I believe we represent 13 different states. That's pretty
Oh, wow.
good reach.
Yes,
So
yes.
let's, you know, how do we mobilize the community to help you in your project? And similar for other people as well. But I'm just thinking right now, Dorothy, I'd love to, you know, I think this is a really important topic. So I guess more of an offer than a question. Well, no, the question is, how can we help? Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because they do give us, and that's part of what Brittany was asking me, they do give us an opportunity to share. So I am on this committee representing PFFCC partners. That's my connection right there. So I certainly will share with them. They just sent evaluation out and I completed it, but I can always go. The door is always open for us to share. So that is what I will do. I will share with them that PFC partners would like to be a part of, if any role that we can play, that we are available. So I will do that, and I'll make a note of that now. So once I get off this call, I will make sure I reach out to them and let them know that. So thank you, Libby.
Wonderful. Marty, feel free to jump in.
Thank you. This is a little bit off track, but it's a message of hope. I'm just finishing the DCARE study, 5-year study from PCORI, and our focus was caregiver strain. And of course, it's was all through the pandemic. So one of the things that I pushed in that was an N is a number, but an N with a narrative is a compelling story. We started a story collection. We're working on that. That's sort of a new way of adding value to the information, other stories. But in addition to that, we really pushed on the caregiver strain and how it was from multiple angles. This was sponsored by CMS, and we are not yet finished with our data, but however, 3 months ago, CMS put out a call of people who were interested in using this as a platform for dementia care across the country would be able to sign up. 390 hospital systems signed up, resulting, and were accepted, resulting in looking at the process for the caregiver and the entire family. But this will result in 78,000 dementia care patients and their families being looked at for some of these items. So I just want to share that is I didn't anticipate this, nor did anyone else. We've got to make sure that we're heard of the right areas in as many places as possible with, and it doesn't have to be the traditional data points or any of that. It has to be the whole package of what it equals. So I hope that I can support you in this, and I hope we can make a difference, because every little bit counts. Every time they recognize all of those that are going through this process, the better off it is for the whole.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes. Let me just say this. Just before we concluded our meeting on Thursday, and I have to go back and get a better feel for this. They threw out two words, and it was very important. They were talking about qualitative data and quantitative data. So I think with those two distinctions, that we will move forward in being able to really define the difference.
Exactly.
So if anybody has worked with with an organization that really, and there's good information out there. I looked at the website again this morning because they do have a new web site out there, and I did it briefly, so I was not able to go back and delve into those two terminologies that they are using. But I think from what I heard, that it's really going to bring a more enlightening mindset to researchers as they move forward in this mapping, this journey mapping for patient, family, and caregivers.
Thank you so much, Dorothy and Marty. Wonderful question and contributions.
Yeah.
Thank you. Beverly, I know we have lots of hands raised, so we'll go Beverly, Janice, and then Connie. I saw you too. So we'll go in that order for now. Beverly, yep, go ahead.
Dorothy, phenomenal work. I am so glad you were on that panel. I've seen lots of things from IVI, so I'm glad to see your face on there because they need help. As I listened to you and I was on the call Thursday, what comes to mind is for those of us who are in the elderly, the senior, past 65 stage, when we start talking about mapping and our experiences, I have this idea that I'm going to have folders everywhere for when I was a caregiver for my mom and a caregiver for my dad and, my surgery, my children's surgery, all of those things. Have you actually looked at how many different maps you're going to end up with for each person? Is it going to be for Alzheimer's and then for cancer? And, because most of us at this time in our life, we've gone through lots of things. So, have you looked at how you're going to make sure that you don't have a file folder full of different maps?
Beverly, thank you for that, because I feel now, this is Dorothy feeling this now from what we heard as we were closing, is that, as I said, I think this journey is to interview certain people with certain medical conditions and then group them accordingly, because what you just said would include a lot of folders. And this is the challenge I think that they're dealing with, is because each individual is different, have different medical concerns. How are they going to make this map that makes sense? That's the best word I can say, to make sense or narrow it down, because again, there will always be some someone or a situation outside of what they have determined. Does that make sense?
Thank you. That's a really great question, Beverly and Dorothy. As you explained that, I think that's, what Libby was saying earlier, something that we can continue to come back to. We have so many brilliant minds within the PFA network, and we can think about, yes, there are tons of different things that we're all experiencing and deal with, but the path, might be something that we can try to brainstorm together. How can we, come up with something that works with multiple different experiences, conditions, all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, that's the complexity of what you're trying to do. And I think that there's a lot to be gained from even getting some things that are common across experiences. I think that's really just getting people to think about what the costs are outside the cost of the healthcare system is super important. And yeah, I just, I have 3 sons with mitochondrial disease, but each of their paths is different. They each, we spent different amount of money on each one of them. Yeah. And they're all in the same family with the same insurance. So if there's that much variation, how do we get to those common threads? Yeah.
That's so true. And I think that's going to be their challenge. And it was mentioned, again, with people having different journeys with perhaps the same diagnosis, but because they're different, their needs are different, how to bring this together. So thank you.
Absolutely. And such a wonderful part of having lived experience and patient and families a part of this to really speak up and share what it's like. Janice, I'll turn it to you.
Thank you for sharing, Dorothy. It's so nice to see everybody. And yeah, this is so, it's so changeable. I know how to say, it morphs into things and it's not always a butterfly, right? Anyway, and I think that too with policy, we haven't talked much about that, but in reality, the new Chevron, what has happened, we don't hear a lot about it, but it's going to greatly impact health policy at the state level because Medicaid, how it can be implemented has to be done at that level now. And so there's going to be losses in many places because of policies that were before determined at the executive level, and now they can go to the state level. So that's one thing. And I just want to really commend you on what you're doing. And something else, I think any of us that have gone through this in our journey, we forget what we've paid for. And right, like it could be the cost of parking is expensive, right? I mean, there's simple little, and then you lose it, you don't get reimbursed, right? And things like that, caregiving. And I wanted to mention, you had mentioned vitamins, and I know this is like a hot topic and a bad topic for some. I'm in Medicare Advantage. It's just easier for me where I am. I receive care at Kaiser. Everything is integrated. And I receive $100 every 3 months to spend at like a store that they associate with Medline to buy vitamins. And I bought a blood pressure kit. I bought all this, an oximeter. I bought canes. I prepared for my surgery. That is so helpful, but not everybody has that. I have a robust system, and Medicare Advantage is being challenged because of, some of what, anyway, because of indirect or direct costs regarding risk and taking money from standard Medicare. That's another story. But people can't afford those simple little things like that. And we should have, just a walker, a cane, things like that after surgery. They're not free. And so I just really appreciate what you had to say. And I'm sorry, I missed what Bev said because I had a squirrel attacking all my plants outside and I had to run them off and I've got all my pots tipped over. Anyway, I yelled at him. I might be a she, I'm sorry. But Bev was on a similar project. If you don't mind, can I put in the paper, Bev? Because I think that would help Dorothy. Or do you want to? She worked with Academy Health and Pecori on something very similar to this.
Okay.
We can talk offline.
Okay.
When, as a matter of fact, Dorothy, I have a couple things that you might be interested in, even from my
Wonderful.
story, even from my, I'm sorry, am I muted?
No,
No, we hear you.
Okay. Oh, even from my storytelling, the art of storytelling, I belong to a storytelling group, and we talked about using the hand in storytelling, how you can tell a story so that the listeners don't get bored. And
Oh,
so it's very interesting. You start with your pinky, which is your childhood, and then you do your ring finger, and then you do the middle finger, which we're calling the index finger. And
mhm,
those are your challenges. But by the time you get to your thumb, which is the strongest one on your hand,
mhm.
what strength, where did you get the strength to go on? So his name is Ken Olgas, and he does storytelling as part of his profession. And so this whole hand piece, how do you tell a story using your hand? This is my story to you. Let's shake hands. And it starts,
Okay,
and people get it.
that's great.
all right.
I have
I
one other
like, go
question,
ahead.
Dorothy. Is this a PCORI project or is it funded by the organization?
It is not a project at all. It is just a fun
No,
volunteering, the
Right.
art of storytelling.
I meant Dorothy's project. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah,
I'd love to
Picori.
hear that. It is a
It's
PCORI project.
Picori.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah, because Bev's was a PCORI too, so, but not
Okay.
journey mapping. Yeah, thank you. We'd love to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, I like to, yes, let's talk offline, what, here's my stance, and here's the stance from the center. I think they're looking for us to provide input, and I feel that because seeing the doors open as to what can be done to assist them in moving forward with this project. So yes, I've written a couple of notes down here. And Beverly, yes, I will be interested in what you were just sharing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you, Janice. Connie, I will turn it to you and then we'll go to Michelle.
Getting off of mute is a job now. Hello, everyone. I'm just grateful for
Hi,
this
Connie.
opportunity to share with you. First and foremost, Dorothy Whitty Hanley couldn't have picked a better person to represent
Oh,
us
bless
well,
you.
PFA Network. Man, absolutely great job. Thank you so much for sharing the real, authentic journeys of persons like myself and other individuals on this call, and just people around the nation who have to encounter so many economic burdens when taking
Yeah.
care of loved ones. I, like you, as you know, have had to take care of two loved ones at the same time as my own complex care health needs. And I tell you, it is a balancing act, and looking
Mhm.
at the need for having the finances that is required to do that day to day can be exhausting. And it's the little things like one of the individuals just mentioned regarding parking that you don't even account for. But not only parking, but even mealtime, just trying to keep yourself properly with the proper nutrition
Exactly.
and hydrated while you're trekking back and forth to hospital or outpatient care facility or whatever have you. That, along with having, if you have someone back at home, like I had an autistic special needs brother that was back at home, having to pay for extra caregivers for the loved ones that you leave behind while you're going to take care of one primary caregiver that needs you at the moment. All of these global concerns are quite a bit economically and financially. And all of it comes down on sometimes one or two persons in the family. So that's a big thing, not just taking care of the one primary person that needs you, but even having to provide care and the finances for having to care for other family members. That's monies that we don't always think about or even plan for. Thank you so much. Good to see everybody.
Thank you, Connie. Seriously, what you just said, the same ballpark I had to play in. My mother was at home. I was her caregiver. My brother was in a rehab center getting chemo as well as being dialyzed. And I wanted to be there with him because he was intellectually challenged. So I was his voice. I had to make sure that people took care of him, and he ended up with wounds that did not heal. So I understand that that is that juggling act that we do, and sometimes we forget about them, because being a part of this group has brought to my mind all of the different things that I had to do, the funds that I had to put out to do that. While I was in the hospital with him, I had to get food because my blood sugar would drop. I'm not diabetic, but my blood sugar would drop. So I always had to get something to eat. And you're moving so that you don't think about taking a lunch. Oh, really? I didn't want to take a lunch. So you're right. You're right. So I'm gonna zip it and let someone else ask. But yes, I've been there and done that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wonderful to hear from you.
It's good to see you too. Yeah.
Thank you, Connie. Michelle, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to I want to know more about the mapping, the journey mapping. And Libby, you mentioned your kids, and you know, my daughter is 28. She's a cancer survivor. She had an aggressive form of childhood cancer when she was 3. And so I am extremely passionate about that journey from pediatric to adult. And there's not a lot of information for her. There's not a lot of survivors for what she has come through. There's more now, but they're not her age. And so we don't even know where to turn. And so there's, you know, when I was in the healthcare system, we had started doing mapping. I guess in a sense we were using Epic, and so I had gone in and worked with the Epic team on building a transition plan that would then be in Epic, that wherever the patient went throughout the healthcare system, that plan would be available to the healthcare givers or the healthcare workers if they accessed it and read it and took the time. And so that was always interesting. But that journey, you know, you're 17 one day getting chemo and your parents have to sign off on it. You have your birthday, and the next morning, and this is an actual true story, the nurse comes in the next morning and is starting to hang the chemo, and mom's like, whoa, 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 what's happening? And like, he's 18. We don't have to talk to you. Like, we don't have to have that conversation with you. And not exactly done the right way, but it's still a fact. And so I think there's still that gap with that, the transition of care with pediatric to adult. And then of course, as our loved ones, our parents get older, then there's the reverse, and then it comes back on us again. And so then, you know, so there's even that piece of it. So healthcare transitions is something that I'll have to look on the forums and see if there's anything in there, because I would definitely jump on that.
Michelle, let me just say that there is another committee that I'm on, and it is talking about from adolescents to adults. Mm-hmm. That's the National Quality Forum. Okay. That's another one. That is a project that they are working on. I don't believe the center, which is IV, is part of that, but I don't know. This being the second meeting that we had, we will see what the next steps are. So, okay. But yes, I am on that one.
Wonderful.
Dealing with from adolescent to adults, and I've had that experience with not a family member, but a very close friend. Her the daughter, we belonged to the same church, was had cancer and had the surgery as a child. The minute she turned 18, then they wanted to start a different and give her new doctors. Mm-hmm. And we, you know, because we still communicate. And she just went to bat for her child and said, you know, I know she's an adult as far as age. However, I want her to continue to see these doctors that have been with her through her entire, health concerns. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we do have to take that stand.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
It's so important.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing that. I will keep that in the back of my mind as I go forth on both committees.
And it's not just the kids that actually need the support, the parents need the support too,
Yes,
because we have to hand
absolutely.
it over. And I
Absolutely,
think we
yes.
need therapy for that.
Absolutely. Thanks again for
Yes.
sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Dorothy, double checking, did your hand go back up? Okay, yep, jump in, and then we'll go to Dorothy, and then we'll move forward because time flew by. We have about 10
Oh,
minutes left.
wow.
Great discussion.
I know, Dorothy, we could almost get on a soapbox because now we have gotten from the youngest and parents. You know, we always say caregivers. Parents are caregivers. They give
Yes.
care. But
Yes.
there are those of us where our calendar every day is to a doctor's appointment. So we almost need caregivers. But because we are on pensions and Social Security, when you start looking at costs for us, please do not forget the seniors in this, because we are doing co-pays or we're getting insurance that does not pay for everything or won't pay for everything, or we can't get a second opinion. So don't forget the seniors, anybody who is 75 and on Medicaid or an Advantage program where they don't have options. And it does get costly. And that's where we start looking for friends, families, GoFundMe, children, whomever we can find, you know, a basket on the street, pass the basket in church, whatever it is, to make sure that we can even eat. And there are folks in my community who actually cook for those that we know cannot get out and cook for themselves, but they have dialysis 2 and 3 times a week. So don't forget about the seniors who are not necessarily sick, but have their chronic things going on.
Okay. Making notes of everything that you all are sharing with me. I really am, and see how I can share this with them to see if that would, you know, because they have their agenda. But I can always throw something in there and say, hey, had you considered this?
Thank you, Beverly. And yes, Dorothy, that element of partnership of, you know, that's, I think, exactly why it's so important to have patients and families part of the partnership. So you can say those things. Don't forget about this, or, you know, these are things that we're truly experiencing. Please remember. So, all right. Well, I'm looking around here. I don't see any more hands raised. What a wonderful discussion, Dorothy. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And thank you all for being so engaged with the discussion. I am just so glad that everyone was able to just jump in and share. And we will continue to keep the conversation going. It's so wonderful. As Libby put in the chat, this is certainly an amazing community. I know I'm so honored to be a part of it. And again, we'll just keep it going. So Dorothy, any hearts and minds clear? Any last things you'd like to say before I move forward?
Yes, I really appreciate the opportunity to share, and I appreciate all of the feedback. Believe me, I've taken it. I have my little notepad here, and I certainly will, you know, as I go back to them, share that with them some of the concerns that you all have. I have the same concerns as well. We all have been through so much that truly we have forgotten, because as they were sharing things, I said, oh my God, that happened to me. You know, that happened during that time. So again, it's good to refresh our memory behind things that have occurred that we can share with them. And I appreciate all of what you all have shared. And believe me, as we move forward, I will let you know where we are. So I appreciate your time and you're listening to me. And I did a halfway decent job.
You did great.
You all are blessed.
And I just want to, chime in that, you know, that's the beauty of this community is you can bring a project and you're not just walking into that room by yourself, Dorothy. You're walking in with all of us right behind you. And so I just encourage all of you, if you're working on a project and you want greater insight, let's have the conversation within the community. There's just such a wealth of knowledge and experience in the PFA network. So tap into that whenever we can be, helpful.
Right. Thank you all again, and thank you for the opportunity. My birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday, Dorothy.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
you.
birthday to you.
Birthday to
Happy
you.
birthday,
Happy
dear
birthday,
Dorothy. Happy
Happy
birthday to
birthday to
you.
you.
Happy
Oh,
birthday.
Yay, happy birthday.
Connie is a
happy
much better
birthday.
singer than I am.
Thank you all
Oh,
so very much.
wonderful. You are
It's good
so
to see you
welcome.
all.
Okay, let me go really quickly. So one of the things that did come up throughout talking, and I know Libby dropped the link in chat, is our forum. So just as a reminder, we do have, and actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually share the forum. So give me just 1 second and take the slides down, and I'm going to share the actual website, which I hope y'all are seeing because I'm scrolling down. So the link is in chat. It's also in our newsletters that we send. We're always sharing it, but this is a really wonderful resource that is often underutilized, but there is an opportunity to create groups. There's an opportunity to join groups, share topics, talk about all kinds of things. And so we want to just get back into the habit of using these together. So just wanted to share this again, remind that there are different groups. Something recently that Naomi put on here around story to strategy. I'll just click on this one as an example because it's right up top, but some of you may have been a part of the story to strategy skills exchange. And this is about telling your story. Beverly, you talked a bit about that today, but there are spaces here. And then Barbara responded and she put a bit in here. So this is just a really wonderful virtual community space. As Libby said, we are across at least 13 states on this call alone. And so think about our whole network. We are far reaching. And so this is a wonderful virtual space where we can all get together and just connect, collaborate, check in. And so just want to remind everyone of this. We'll keep checking in here. So this won't be just a one stop. But I did want to just bring that back up and remind everyone about our forums, and that this is a wonderful space that we have to continue to engage with each other. And I'm going to share our engagement opportunities, which we also put on the forums. And so it's just a wonderful way to learn about what's going on in the network and to connect with each other and to continue to build our community. So I'm going to reshare the slides. All right, so a few engagement opportunities, and I will say we have a few more coming up here soon. So that's exciting, but a reminder about the IHI patient feedback interviews. This goes through the end of July. So if you are interested, you would just want to email Jeff. So this is one of those that you would just reach out if you are interested in participating in an interview. And then we also have our partners at Acumen are doing plain language testing interviews. So this is another interview opportunity. And so this is around post-acute care settings. So if you have experience yourself or caring for someone who is a Medicare beneficiary and experience in an inpatient rehabilitation facility, a long-term acute care hospital, or a skilled nursing facility. So any of these settings, please do register here. So this is another opportunity. Both that I've just mentioned have stipends available. And then I also just wanted to bring this up here as just a quick reminder about those settings. So if you are feeling unsure when you register, if you click the link, I do believe that there is the option to select unsure. So if you're unsure, but you want to participate, there's a way to get involved. But just a quick reminder here about those different post-acute care settings. So as I said, those are the active ones right now. We have a few more that I know I'm working on, and they will be being shared here soon. So there's just, it's wonderful, as we heard from Dorothy today and some of you sharing, that it's wonderful to have all of these opportunities coming up for patient and family partnership across the healthcare landscape. So I'm just really grateful that these are coming, and that you all's voices can continue to be heard. It's so important. So I will close us with this last slide to refer a friend or a family member to our membership survey or questionnaire. We just want to continue to grow our community. I'm sure we can all think of someone who it's like, oh, this would be wonderful for them to be a part of this community. So please do share. If you have questions about what that might look like, you can email me and I can give you more information as well. But we want to continue to grow our network, continue to contribute voices. All right, we are at the top of the hour. It has been a wonderful hour. I just so appreciate all of you being here. Let me stop sharing really quick. Being here with us on this Friday. I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Enjoy your birthday weekend. And everyone take really good care. And we will talk again more next month.
Thank you.
Great
Have a
job,
great week.
Brittany.
Thank you, Libby. Bye,
Yes.
everyone.
Bye.
Here.